Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Please welcome our host for this evening, Josie Ngipandwa.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And I'm glad that I see some loyal faces. Some of you have been coming here since February, mind you. And I'm so happy that you've stuck through thick and thin with the Masters of Success program. So do give yourselves a round of applause. Now, before we get our guests for tonight on the stage, we obviously need to pay homage to all of the guests that we've had on for the entire year. We started in February, it was the first show, and I'm sure we've seen that show after show, our guests' presence on the stage has improved, and show after show, even I've managed to improve as a presenter as well. So MTC has done a really great job in ensuring that there is a wave of inspiration that takes over Namibia in general, but also that all of us who are involved, namely NBC and NTN and Namibian Sun, are able to develop as well in our skill. So help me in taking a look back into time, all the way from the beginning until now. Enjoy.
MTC's Masters of Success has obviously been one of those very creative projects where we just want to get the nation going by, inspiring them to seek their own dreams, realize their own ambitions.
Our country must absorb where the talents are. If it's arts, if it's design, if it's fashion, then we must create these industries so these children can be absorbed.
I just never had a situation where I prayed that there'd be money in the bank and the next day there was money in the bank when I looked.
Well, with regards to being raised by a single parent, it's quite a different experience because you are raised by a single mom. You don't know how it's like to not have a father.
I was going through the newspapers one day and there was an advert saying they're looking for, TV presenters and extras and actors and actresses. And I remember going to her saying, we need 3,000 Rand, you have 3,000 Rand because TV, it's a TV presenting course.
Yeah.
And I remember her saying, yes, I actually have 3,000 Rand, you can go. And I went for almost a year every Saturday, and that's where it started for me.
Till today, I'm still the youngest player ever to play professional because my first game I was 15.
The 76 situation, we were in school uniform, we were not carrying stones, no traditional weapons, nothing, medicine. But these guys never used the rubber bullets. They opened fire.
So the manner in which we structured the show was, when we started this project was, bringing in any inspiring personality from across the African continent, which obviously includes Namibia. So this would be any person that relates to Namibians and that has an uplifting and inspiring story to tell. We started with Bonang in Feb. We've gone all the way to the Honorable First Lady.
In true Namibian fashion, let's give a standing ovation to the First Lady of the Democratic Republic of Namibia, Mrs. Monica Gengos.
We've had Quinton van Weyen, we've had Sisa Namanje, we've had comedians, actors, singers, and various personalities to attract a wider audience with every show that we do. We have decided to do 10 shows from February to November, and we've, out of 10 shows, had 4 credible and inspiring Namibians. It's difficult to compare the different shows that we've had so far because it is firstly different personalities. They come with different stories, different backgrounds, and they also inspire different people with different interests. So every show was unique on its own. If you look at, we started with Bonang, obviously that was a TV personality. We went on to entrepreneurs, we went on to comedians, we went on to actors. So every show was special in its own sense. In terms of the future, we have not decided whether Masters of Success will continue next year. I personally hope that it does not, for two reasons. Firstly is because, we are a bunch of creatives at MTC, and we have so many other projects that we just want to the public to benefit from. And if we do continue the show, we would be robbing the nation of another better creative project if we continue the show. But if it does, it's going to be as exciting as it was in 2015. I think we've really made an effort as the organizing team of MTC, NBC, and of course, I would also like to thank everybody that was involved. My Republic came on as a sponsor as well. Namibian Sun, our media partner, the team from NTN, who have always been there making sure that every show is top class, the team from NBC, and of course the team from DB Audio as well. And I would like to thank, all the guests that appeared on the show. Most of them made an effort, especially those coming from the outside of Namibia, and also, our local guests for making sure that every show is unique and inspiring. And lastly, I would just like to, thank all the guests that came out here every month, and especially those that took tickets and did not come. We hope that you also enjoyed the show on NBC. Thank you very much, and we hope that you can take this inspiration and make meaning out of your own life.
Come on, you need to give that a round of applause. I feel so sad because I finally realized that it's almost the end. It's like, you go to primary school and you realize it's grade 7 and it's the last day and they're sending me away. But now I don't know if I'm going to high school, so we need to ask Tim McCandra if there'll be any high school for Masters of Success. Nonetheless, we've had wonderful experiences on this stage and I've learned a lot. But it's not the end. And seeing as this is the last one, we needed to do it in style. And when I say style, I mean it literally. Now, our guest for tonight is an accountant by profession, but she's one who's managed to take her love and passion for money and turned it into so many different avenues that help and assist Namibia in growing towards Vision 2030 on a daily basis, whether it's by production of crops or production of clothes like the ones I'm wearing today. So ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome our final fantastic guest on the Masters of Success program, none other than the owner of My Republic, the #1 citizen on our program for tonight, Mrs. Ali Angula. You stole my dress firstly, and I think she did it on purpose because I get to go into My Republic every month to pick an outfit, but this dress wasn't there. So I think she did it on purpose and then left this one there, but it's fine. You look absolutely lovely. Thank you. And it's good to have you on the show. We're going to go straight into it because I have so many fun elements for you tonight. Let's take a look. In Shwambo they say kwazi o kokure. It means you've come from far. Let's see how far Ali has come from. Let's get this picture up. So we see, and you can literally see,
oh my word.
All the articles I've read about you, you always make it a point to bring a point across that you need to be a visionary, you need to look into a future and see what change you can bring. And we see there that you are looking into the future. There's even an ocean in the background. That's how visionary she is. And we can see the cute shorts as well, so the style came from far also. So tell us about your upbringing. I'm sure there's a lot of experiences that you had, considering that you grew up in exile as well, that have contributed to you becoming the powerful force that you are.
Yeah. Thank you very much for having me on the show tonight. I was born in Angola to two Namibian parents. They had gone into exile during the liberation struggle. And I was born in a camp in Lubango. It was the education camp. My mom was the head nurse at that time, and my dad was the one that was looking after the camp, basically everybody in it. So we were pretty much left up to our own devices. And I guess that's where some of the, having to look after myself, part of me comes from, and leading other people. So we would get up in the morning, and if we made it to school, or if I made it to school, that was a really good day. If my parents found me in the house in the afternoon, that was also, for them, probably a lucky draw. And my mom would come in, and the first thing she would check is whether I had shoes on.
Okay.
Because I would go about, and the shoes would just go missing. So they ended up at some point tying them to my ankle to just make sure that I had shoes by the time I got home. So, but it was good. We had a lot of fun. So, and it was, I guess, the really formative years of my life, and determined my outlook in terms of the things that I'm doing now, and my approach to things.
So there was an article I read that you did a while back, and you stated that your mother had one rule for all of her children regarding the type of education that they could get.
Yes.
What was that rule, and how did that influence you in then managing to go up and becoming a chartered accountant?
Yeah. So the rule that my mom had was every one of our children needed to get a university education. So when she left Namibia, she was a qualified nurse, and that's why she was the head nurse for the camp. But she went on later, just before independence, she went to the university in the UK and qualified in development science. So for her, it was very, very important that if when she had children, that they all go through the same path, and it was a non-negotiable. It really was a non-negotiable. And I came home the one day we had the Polytechnic that had come through to Centaurus. I did my high school at Centaurus. And they were telling us about, the value of experience. And you get to hear this a lot. When you see adverts, they ask for like 3 years or 5 years experience.
Yeah.
And they really got to me when they said, we don't just focus on the theory part of the accounting when you want to become an accountant. We focus on giving you experience. We send you out there for internships. And I didn't hear the same message when the people from the University of Namibia came to talk to us. So that evening, very excited, I get to the house and I tell her, I'm going to Polytech. And she says, Polytech? But that's not a university.
Okay, well, now it is, so we're
now,
not hating.
now it is, then it wasn't.
Yeah.
Then it was a technical. So we had such a heated debate, and she just put her foot down and she said, no child of mine is going to a place where it's not a university. You're going to get a degree, and then thereafter you can do anything. So in our house, we've sort of set the same rule, only this time it's slightly different, in the sense that all of our children need to do articles.
Okay.
So for you to become a chartered accountant, you do need a degree. And then that sort of takes you into your honors for you to be able to do your articles and then to do your board exams and then to qualify as a chartered accountant. So if she hadn't pushed me, although I had this ambition of wanting to become a chartered accountant, if she hadn't pushed me to go to university, it would have taken me an additional 4 years to catch up and eventually get to qualify as a chartered accountant. But for our children, we've decided you can do anything.
Yes.
You can want to become a doctor, you can want to become a lawyer, you can want to come. My daughter is adamant, she's a future managing director of LEAP.
Okay.
You can want to become the managing director of LEAP, but you need to do articles at an accounting practice. It gives you such a good grounding and the work ethic. There were some clients where we would go home at like 3 a.m., 4 a.m. in the morning to just make sure that we meet the deadlines of this client. And that kind of practice, that kind of work ethic, you don't find anywhere else.
Yeah.
So for us, that's the non-negotiable. But
Okay.
with my parents, it started with we needed to get a university.
Okay, we're glad your mother did push you because, now we're here.
Yeah.
And the clothes are here and stuff. So we're very happy. Firstly, let me just comment, doesn't she look exceptionally young? She looks really, you look younger than me. And it's just like, What have I been doing with my life? But nonetheless,
I want to say I am officially no longer youth.
okay.
Yeah.
So we are looking at. This is how you try and get her to say her
We're
age.
looking at a very mature Ali Angula.
Okay, we can settle for that. We can settle for that. Now, I've also seen that you are very much about family and the role that family plays in our lives and in the attainment of our dreams. For instance, this picture, where it's a beautiful picture. I think you guys are on holiday. Let's just get it up. And look there, the two little kids are there. I mean, you taught the child how to pout and split up the piece, and your husband as well. And you look so happy and radiant. Firstly, where is this? Because I argued with one of our producers. Apparently, that's Istanbul.
This is Istanbul.
Oh,
and,
I owe her a drink after this.
This is Istanbul. This was in August, and I don't get to see my family a lot.
Okay.
Sometimes it would go a week, I would be in the house, and by the time I get in, they're fast asleep. By the time they get to school, I'm still fast asleep, trying to catch up from lost sleep. So this was an attempt to try and really spend as much time with the family as possible. So we started off in Geneva. I had gone through to the World Economic Forum Young Global Leaders Annual Summit. And to just tie a little bit of work in to get as much done, we then decided we were going to Turkey to buy fabrics
Okay,
for my republic.
So they came to
with-
work with you
Yes.
abroad, basically.
Yes.
But it must have been lovely. But now that makes me ask you the question, because I think that's something that a lot of women who now work are struggling with, maintaining that peace in the household and maintaining connection with husband and children and still getting the job done. How
Yeah.
do you do it?
It's a real struggle, and I cannot for one moment say that I've mastered the art. I really haven't. But what I do have is I've got a really supportive husband. So he manages to keep all of us together. But trying to get the balance in terms of work and in terms of family life, it's a real challenge, and that's one thing that I haven't cracked yet. So that's probably it's Vision 2030.
Vision 2030.
That's Vision
Okay, we
2030.
hope you-
It's a struggle.
We hope
Yeah.
you reach it. Now, let's get to the drama, because I'm a liker of things and we need a little bit of drama. So there was an article. Apparently you were arrested in Zimbabwe
Oh, my word,
for
yes.
prostitution.
Yes.
It's not what it sounds like. I swear. What happened? Because when I read the article, I was like, she's my next guest. Yeah, so I don't know how to handle the situation. What exactly happened in Zimbabwe?
So apparently I've got other talents that I
Okay.
wasn't aware of. So we went off to Zim in June. My husband is from Zimbabwe. So we do a regular trip there. You know, we used to go there at least twice or three times a year. My in-laws have now passed on, so it's not as regular. But
Yes.
this time we had gone, it was June 2010, and my mom-in-law had a stroke. So we flew out on a Wednesday, but we landed quite late. So we only got to see her the following morning, the Thursday. And the doctor, to our delight, said that she had made really great progress, and that she would be discharged from the hospital on Saturday. So we then sort of went through the week preparing for her to arrive at home, and we were staying with one of our friends. So he says to us, every time you hear it's family, so we never get time to actually go out. So this time we want to go out. We hear there's a party here, and I love a good party.
Okay.
So we said the children are not here, so we're going to join you. And off we went. We ended up at a reggae party, and it ended sadly at about 12. So I insisted we must continue the dancing. So we ended up in a dance club in the city center of Harare. And at about 3 o'clock, we had some friends that had come with us, and 3 o'clock in the morning, and there was a bank that had gone under curatorship, so it was auditors with auditors. And she then says, we need to leave. So we left, but I'm still moaning, like, why do we have to go? And through this commotion of moaning, you don't sort of realize what's happening around you. And eventually, I just heard sort of the scream behind me. And I turned around, and it was my husband's best friend's sister-in-law. And there was a guy that, he was wearing this gray jersey, and he just appeared as though he was harassing her. So I said to the guys, please go and check what's happening there. And before they got there, there just seemed to have been additional commotion. They get round to us. The guy turns around and looks at all of us and says, arresting you for loitering.
So he was an officer?
He was an officer. He was a police officer.
Okay.
But coming from Namibia, you feel like you need to challenge.
Yes, the law.
So,
officer, it's a lie. You need to just, yeah.
So I say to him, do you know the meaning of loitering? He didn't appreciate me asking him whether he knew the meaning of loitering, so very quickly those charges went from you're loitering to prostitution. And it was winter, it was June. I was wearing like this huge jacket, and for people that know me really well, sometimes when I go out, I would wear jeans and my techies, so I wasn't looking like a person that was offering services. So I said to him, do you know how prostitutes look like?
Okay.
He turns around and says, I've seen all sorts. So I knew the battle was lost.
Yeah.
And he turns around to the guys in the group, including my husband, and says, we are arresting you for solicitation.
Oh.
So we continued to protest, but I think I protested probably the loudest. So he turned around and says, I'm going to cuff you. And my husband begs and pleads. He really is the calmer one of the two of us.
Okay.
And, but we ended up at the police station. There were almost charges made out. We left that police station going to 5 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
Yeah.
But I mean, let's just talk about this for a bit. Because I just feel like, okay, but at least from there you went from a purported prostitute to a businesswoman. So we can see the link. I'm kidding. When you came back, I read in one of the articles that you had done with the Namibian Sun newspaper that when you came back, that had actually prompted you to start thinking about Leap Holdings.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
It was that incident exactly. That year I had become, no, I hadn't become a Tutu Fellow by then, but my husband's best friend was a Tutu Fellow. So we were having the discussions around just leadership on the continent and how you would have a person who's meant to be a public protector go from being a public protector to a person who actually just harasses you. Why we were brought to the police station was because I was making so much noise that this guy had absolutely no choice but to carry out his threat of wanting to arrest us. But everybody else, and there was quite a large group of people that they had tried to round up, they didn't make it through to the police station. So we protested. He had to carry through his threat, but what they were looking for was money. And by the time they were trying to make out our charge sheets, and my husband had negotiated for us to be released, they had actually taken a couple of our friends already into the holding cells. So we get home and we get a call that says, please come back and bring back $70 US, right? When he came out, he tried to explain how many people the $70 US would have been shared with. It was somewhere between 5 and 7 people. And in Zim, you can't, at that point, even a little piece of cheese that size and probably that thin would have costed you $12 US. So what were they going to do with $70 US amongst 5 or 7 people?
Yeah.
It just didn't make sense. So we had the broader discussion around the economic state of us as Africans. And I had been in Zim from 1998. That's when I went to go meet my family in Zim. And you see a country progress through where it had production capacity. My first year in Zim, I woke up and Mana asked me, my husband's name is Mana, he asked me, what are you going to have for breakfast? And I said to him, I wanted to have Kellogg's cornflakes. And he said, no man, what are you going to have for breakfast? Well, that's expensive. So the very same corner that we've got in this country for German products is what they had for South African products. So if you go into a Womanbrock, that little corner that they have for those products, and you would find chains and chains of retailers with Zimbabwean manufactured products. By that time in 2010, the picture had totally changed. So the conversation we had was, how do we change sort of the future of the continent? How do we change our respective countries? And the only thing that kept playing at the back of my mind is 20 years from now, if that was my son or my daughter in this country going through exactly the same experience. And I was, at that point, living a very, very comfortable life.
Yes.
Very, very comfortable. I was a partner at KPMG. And you know when you don't even know when you're going to get paid, because it doesn't matter.
Uh-huh.
And
I mean, I don't know, but I can imagine.
you've got your title to your house, you've got, you know, your car is not bonded to a bank. So it was a very, very comfortable life. But then I thought, if we don't do something as a collective, if we don't get to the point where we manufacture things, this country is not, and I was really reflecting it and comparing it back to Zimbabwe, because we're not sitting in the same position.
Yes.
And that country went through, the economy collapsed, and to this day, that economy struggles, and we don't know when it's going to turn around and actually come to a point. Zim used to be the breadbasket of Southern Africa.
Yes.
So I came back and I started telling my friends about this ordeal, and they all just looked at me and thought, no, Ali, you just need, you know, just calm down a little bit, just rest. It's really been a traumatic experience.
You're traumatized.
You're traumatized.
Prostitution is hard.
And because at that point I was telling them, no, I'm going to leave KPMG. I want to start a company that manufactures, but I didn't know what
Yes.
we were going to start in terms of manufacturing. But at the back of my mind, I wanted to get into some place where it involved manufacturing, and that's really how Leap Holdings came about.
Okay.
Yeah.
We will delve deeper into the purpose that Leap Holdings is trying to serve, especially with regards to the attainment of Vision 2030.
Yeah.
And then we'll also talk fashion and My Republic and being a citizen and all those nice things. But before we get there, I need to give Ali a breather because there's more controversy coming on the other side.
my
So let's
word.
take a break.
Ladies and gentlemen, presenting Our Way.
Here's a song of note. Come jam with us and move to the groove. Gather everyone you know. Our way is here. Now here we go. Super Kid Rambo and oh yeah. Grab your phone and let your fingers move. Here, there, everywhere. Can't get enough. Our way. A whole lot of texting on my right. Type send even in the night. Making calls, chatting all the time. So I keep the honeys on my side. Packed full of data from my tweets. So much more to send my beats. My own choice to set the flow. Everything to keep me on the go. Ah, yeah.
Once again, thank you very much for tuning in to the Masters of Success program. This is the last one, but it'll definitely not be the least inspirational. A very big thank you to MTC for making this possible, but then also the NTN, as well as Namibian Sun and NBC. So, Ali, we were busy talking about you and your life in Zimbabwe and what's happening in the family. Let's talk about education briefly, because I think that has enabled you to do majority of the things that you are able to do and enjoy majority of the things you're able to enjoy right now. Accounting is what you chose as a career path. But then we look at the things that you do with Leap Holdings and it doesn't make sense. So firstly, why did you choose to study accounting and go all the way to become a chartered accountant? But then also, how do you use that to fulfill whatever it is burden Leap Holding has within Namibia?
Yeah. So accounting was one of those subjects that I didn't have to study for at school. So
Okay.
that was the first reason why I ended up as a CA. I think it was logic. It made sense, and for some accountants that are in the room, I think you'd probably feel the same. Accounting is where you've got a debit and a credit, and they must always match each other out. So it made sense, and it was also because my parents wanted me to do something that was meaningful.
Okay.
So the choice was either science or something else, but it wasn't going to be social sciences. And at that point, you only had 3 choices. And I had this really horrible physical science teacher.
Okay.
So it was really to get away from him, and accounting made sense. So that's how I ended up in accounting. But it's been really, let me say, life-changing. Because as to qualify as a chartered accountant, you need to do articles.
Okay.
And coming back to why articles is important. And while you're doing articles, you're going through to different companies all the time. So you're getting to learn different industries. So you don't go in and you're starting out and you've got, say, a banking career and you're just in banking. You're getting exposed to retail, you're getting exposed to manufacturing, you're getting exposed to the farmers, you're getting exposed to a really broad-based spectrum of industries. So that's the first thing. That's been very helpful. So I've been able to transition and use that knowledge to come up with sort of the procedures and the way I run Leap. And people look at it and they think it's odd, but because you went from today I'm sitting at a Standard Bank, tomorrow I'm sitting at a Nampower, the next day I'm sitting at a Development Bank of Namibia, the following day I'm sitting at a Namibia Breweries, you get used to dealing with different things. So it's been helpful.
Okay. Yeah. So what exactly does Leap Holdings do? Because I mean, when I read Leap Holdings, I only knew about My Republic, but I thought the girl who worked in the shop is the owner of My Republic, because she's always wearing your clothes. So for me, it was like, okay, I didn't really know who owned it or whatever. Yeah. Then I discovered your story and I realized that My Republic is just a faction of what Leap Holdings is. So what exactly is Leap Holdings?
So Leap Holdings, we've got a massive mission that we've set for ourselves. So we've set ourselves a mission to impact 1 million lives. And the way that we want to do that is by creating jobs. And we believe that if you provide employment to one person, you're impacting 4 additional people.
Okay.
And we then have our agricultural business, and that really it was default. It was as a result of us wanting to go into manufacturing, and we wanted to manufacture something that the world understood.
Okay.
We wanted to manufacture something that we could export. So people walk into the shop, and that's how we ended up with clothing. People walk into the shop and they say, why don't we have African print, for instance? And for us, our mission is very clear. We want to use Namibia as a base to manufacture. We've got really brilliant infrastructure here. The road network that we have, I mean, yesterday I left and went to the farm. And this morning, I drove back from the farm at 10:30. The farm is 493 kilometers away. Managed to make it in time for my meeting at 2 o'clock.
She's so good with numbers because she's like, it's to the point. 493, meeting at 2. It's like, it makes sense. Okay.
So in terms of that infrastructure, we need to utilize that infrastructure to manufacture. And that's how we wanted to actually manufacture here and be able to export.
Okay.
And the one thing that people around the world understand is clothing. We all wear clothing. You can't leave your house without clothes. And we then decided, okay, that was going to be the one area that we're going to focus on. But we wanted to retail it ourselves because you always hear in Namibia this whole story of we don't have shelf space on people's shelves.
Yes.
And the retailers are largely South African or from outside of Namibia. But the question that we put to ourselves is, but those very same people that come into Namibia to retail, they lease space. They don't own the space. So what stops us from leasing space just the way that they do? And when we started going down the journey, I wanted to I like controlling things.
Okay.
So I wanted to control as much of the value chain as possible. And I wanted to have an operation that was really integrated. So we started looking at, can we grow our own cotton? I started talking to my mom. My mom is an agriculturalist, but she had ended up in development science because that's what she studied. And she understood this country really well. So she would go from one corner to the other in terms of the work that she did.
Yes.
So I asked her, do we have any capacity, or have you seen anywhere in Namibia where there's cotton that's being grown? And at that point, the only thing I knew that you could use for fabric and textiles was cotton. And then she said to me, yeah, there was some project up in the north, and there was even a place where they could gin the cotton, but then the project sort of died.
Okay.
So I said to her, okay, so can we experiment growing cotton in your field?
Okay.
And although my mom supports absolutely everything that I get up to, this one time she just looked at me and said no. And I said to her, but why? And supposedly there are pests that are attracted to cotton. And we've got a lot of cattle farmers around us, and we've got people that grow mahangu and the rest, and the application of those chemicals would not have worked in combination. So we went back to the drawing board. And we then came across something that you could make fiber out of, which is bamboo. So bamboo is probably the world's super material. You can do flooring out of it. You can eat it. You can eat the bamboo shoots. You can do furniture out of it. You can get fiber for textiles.
You can beat a child with it.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I've seen that in other movies. Yeah.
So we started wanting to then experiment with bamboo and then get other households to grow this bamboo for us. And even coming from a background where previously I would walk into a bank and I would say I wanted to get this funded, or we're looking at doing this, and they would say yes. And they would say, just send us a document, and within a day you'd have a response. When we started talking to them about experimentation, they looked at me, and by the end of our conversations would normally walk out very puzzled. They didn't even know what to ask in terms of documentation, because they already knew that it's not something that they were going to fund. So I then started, okay, so how are we going to do this? We want to still control as much of the value chain as possible. And I went through to the agronomic board and I said, what is it that we import the most in this country? And they told me potatoes and onions.
Okay.
So we wanted to actually fund the experimentation for the bamboo, and that's how we ended up in agriculture. So under LEAP, we've got 3 operating companies. We've got LEAP Agribusiness, which is a commercial horticultural operation and really up and running.
Okay.
And we've got LEAP Manufacturing, which is the one that manufactures all of the clothes for My Republic.
Okay.
And then we've got LEAP Retail, which is the one that owns the brand My Republic. And then LEAP Holdings provides the operational and sort of technical support to the operating companies.
Okay,
So that's a group.
speaking of LEAP Holdings, there's a picture that I came across of you with some of your employees. Let's just get that up. And I can see that you actually are responsible for providing employment to a number of people.
Yeah.
Because I think people look at My Republic and think, oh, it's a shop with like 2 employees and 1 designer, then there's Ali at the top.
Yeah.
How many people has LEAP Holdings actually been able to employ, firstly? And I know that you believe in ensuring that there is a board in place to assist you with decision making as well. What's the importance of Namibian businesses then ensuring that there are boards in place for their institutions or their corporations? Okay, not a cooker shop, but like it's like a business.
Yeah.
What's the importance of a board being present to ensure that the business thrives?
So we employ about 84 people.
Okay.
And that's across the businesses. We've got about 12 guys at LEAP Agri, and then we've got about 13 people at Holdings, and the rest are sitting between retail and manufacturing. So that's quite a big number in about a year and a half that this operation has been up and running. And for us to make sure that we're doing the right things, it's important to have conversations with other people.
Yes.
And I've got a brilliant board, and we have conversations where I would say I'm really struggling with this one element. And they would turn around and say, but have you considered doing it this way or another way? Because we've got so many lives that depend on LEAP.
Yes.
And we can't jeopardize that by one person running around and thinking they've got all the answer. So a board, having a board is a great sounding board. It gives you a different view about things.
Yes.
I would think I've got the answer, I've got it all sorted out. And then somebody asks me a question and I realize, but by doing and going down a specific path, we might be creating 10 additional problems. And I would not have had a person questioning and asking me if I didn't have a board. So a board, it provides you with advice. It makes sure that you're doing the right things. When you appear to be heading in the wrong direction, they can give you advice to say, okay, maybe we need to be doing this slightly different. And I've got one of those boards that understands me really well. So when they have a conversation, they'll say, but we're not doing this to change the direction of the company. We're just doing this to help us.
Okay, so they know how to work around you. Okay, so still staying on LEAP and looking at the fact that you were an individual that is in a country full of promise, and you made a decision to think of an idea and follow it through. That says 2 things. Firstly, I mean, you're a visionary. And secondly, it says that we're actually living on a gold mine where there are opportunities that we as Namibians can use, but we don't. What are, in your opinion, some of the avenues that are at our disposal, especially as Namibian youth, that we are completely underutilizing?
Yeah. So for me, it's been the filling the broken chains in supply. So if I take, I'll take our agricultural business, then I'll move on to our manufacturing and retail.
Yes.
If I take our manufacturing business or our agricultural business, we import the seeds in from South Africa. Every seed, even if we say we're now supplying 33% of the produce that you find on the market, all the seeds to grow that are all imported in from South Africa. We import all of our fertilizers in. So there are a lot of links that need to be filled in the supply chain. So if you just identify one particular industry and break that industry down and try and find one of the, probably a smaller area to start off with.
Yes.
But certainly in all the supply chains, in all the industries that we're in, I mean, if you look at Namibia breweries, the barley, we've started recently growing barley, but all of that stuff used to get imported in. The glass that we bought, that we put our drinks in, the cans that we put all of that stuff in, all of those things get imported. So if you break down the different elements in a supply chain of an industry that's already in Namibia, there are immense opportunities.
Okay.
If I move on to our manufacturing business, and this has probably been one of the things that's been frustrating, and I remember taking the team around and going from printing company to printing company. So we've been able to develop in-house design talent. We've been able to develop in-house product development talent. We've been able to get to a point where we actually get clothes that look like clothes.
Yeah.
And the only thing, it's hard.
Right, yeah.
It's hard. And the only things we're bringing in is the fabrics and obviously the trimmings to put the garments together. But one of the things that pains me still is our price tags that we put on your garments if you're a citizen. The My Republic clothes price tag, which has got that wonderful story that we've written, that's getting printed in South Africa. And when we were getting the things ready and we were looking for a Namibian printer, and we couldn't find one, or we eventually found one and their price was $13 a price tag. When it's coming in from South Africa, it's at $2.70, including transportation, then you know something is wrong.
Okay.
So there are opportunities everywhere. The care labels on our clothes. So if you're a citizen, you would know when you get a piece of My Republic garment, there's a care label. So we send the fabrics off for testing.
I have mine.
That says how...
All 5.
How you look after your clothes. That little label, that's also being printed in South Africa. And we went off to printing companies and they looked at it and they said, it's too small. But if it's too big, then when you put it on, it's going to scratch you.
Yes.
So there's opportunity. So if you just look at an industry where somebody is already doing something here and break down that supply chain and pick an area where you can get involved, there are immense opportunities in this country.
For us to be able to do, yes. Our final question before we take a bit of insight into your entrepreneurial, what do you call it? You see when you're trying to sound fancy for someone, because she was using big words, and now I don't know what to say. Look, when we look at your entrepreneurial vision, that's the word. We're going to look into your entrepreneurial vision, but before we do that, there is a question that a lot of people have asked. I mean, I went into the shop the first time when you had agreed to sponsor me. By the way, thank you very much. I get to keep the clothes, I'm telling you guys. So, when I walked into the shop, I looked around and I thought, these are really nice garments. I mean, the fabric is soft and it's clothes for any and every occasion.
Yeah.
Then I looked at the price tag.
Yes.
And I was like, I got to go. My pocket will not allow me. What exactly is the understanding that you have as the leader of LEAP regarding the pricing of a Namibian product and how expensive it is? Because some people can reason, no, but it's a Namibian product, so it must be cheaper than the South African products. So what's the reasoning there?
Yeah. So for us, we've got a lot of respect for the value chain, right? You would for people that are very in tune with what's happening in the garment industry, there was the fires in Bangladesh. There's always this thing of sweatshops around where you've got the big brands that are sourcing. We don't underpay anyone that works for LEAP.
Okay.
Firstly. So we had people that came in and they were working at a previous manufacturing company here, and we doubled what they were being paid.
Okay.
Because it just didn't make sense when you look at what that person is taking home, and that person is sitting there behind a machine and getting a garment ready for a person to buy. So that's one. The second one is we don't take any shortcuts. So all of our fabrics, obviously in batches, so if you've got the same three colors but in the same fabric, one of those will go off for testing. None of that testing gets done here, unfortunately, because we don't have the labs. So that testing gets done in South Africa. We get the care instructions back, and we make sure that you've got care instructions for your garments. I would want to challenge anybody that has either walked into the shop or has found someone that has got a My Republic garment. Feel your fabrics. They are like this feel fantastic.
They do.
Feel fantastic fabrics.
They really do.
So there's a lot of investment that goes into making sure that we are bringing you a really good quality garment. And for that, there is a cost that comes with that.
Yeah.
And I don't believe in the fact that if it is Namibian, it must be cheap. I believe that if you are getting a quality product and there is value that you are buying, then that price must reflect the value that you're getting. And yes, people say it is not accessible to the masses. But in terms of pricing, I went and you buy food, you go out with friends, and you get a bill of like $2,000 amongst 4 or 5 people. That food goes into your stomach and then
Yeah, really is.
And for the same price tag, you'd go into My Republic and you'd find a top that's $4.99, you'd find a dress that's $7.99. So I think, although there is a conversation around the fact that it is Namibian and there's an expectation that it is going to be cheap.
Yes.
We're providing a good value product, and because we're respecting the value chain, so we're paying where we need to pay, and we're not underpaying for our service providers, we're not underpaying our employees, and that does come at a cost.
Okay, at least now we have a justification. It makes sense, like the debit and the credit and the things. So let's take a look at a talk Ali did recently or previously, where she was talking about entrepreneurship and generally just her visions. And when we get back, we're going to be taking a look at what inspires her the most, but also what it is she would like to give to Namibia for inspiration.
Hi, I am Ali Angula. I'm the Managing Director of the Leap Group of Companies. We are based in Namibia, Windhoek. It is my pleasure to share my little bit of insight of my entrepreneurial journey thus far. It would have been an even greater honor to be with you in person, but unfortunately I'm not able to. But I'm hoping that through a little bit of my insight that I'm going to share with you, that you do still take something away. I would like to share with you a little bit of why we started this journey as Leap, the group of companies, some of the lessons that we've learned along the way, as well as the importance of failing in entrepreneurship. As Leap, embarking on this journey, we wanted to have one vision that ties everything together, and that one vision is impacting 1 million lives. And we do this through Leap Holdings, being the holding company for our operations, and our operations are in manufacturing. We manufacture garments through Leap Manufacturing. We grow crops because we're trying to backward integrate to fund the experimentation for our crops that will eventually give us fiber for our clothing that we manufacture. And those crops we grow through a company called Leap Agribusiness, so we are in farming, and we retail a brand that we manage under Leap, which is My Republic. I would think that
It's a short, because what she was going to say next was going to be my question, and I couldn't have her taking control of the show. So let me get into my question. There's a lot in this interview, because I watched the full one, and there's a lot in this interview that you focus a lot on what it is we as Namibians can do for our fellow citizens, so that we ensure everybody gets a piece of the cake, and everybody gets to eat, and everybody gets to be happy as well. Considering the upbringing you had, which was in exile, there was apartheid, and it was a difficult time, and then looking at youth now, there is a disparity in terms of opportunities that are available to us. So in your opinion, does that make a difference? And is that why maybe we don't have as many youth that are motivated to bring about some kind of social change? Or is there something that we're missing?
I think the opportunities are there.
Okay.
I think generally as Namibians, we need to really take a hard look at ourselves and say, are we really thinking about the future? Are we thinking about the fact that even if I start wherever I am today, whatever it is that I bring to the table, I can make a contribution. And I come from an environment where you would come across people and they would generally want to ask what you can do for them and not what they can do for someone else.
Yes.
And we've now sort of at Leap started turning that around, and we have people that come in as trainees from our republic, and they spend about a week with us at the office. And the only thing I ask the team to look at is, does that person come to you and ask whether they can help you? Because we're looking for givers. And in this country, we really have a lot of takers, and we've got people that don't want to put in the time. We've started our manufacturing, we've moved manufacturing from Windhoek and we've moved it to Witvlei. And that little community has got about 3,000 people. It's got an unemployment rate of 90%. So you would think if somebody invests in some form of manufacturing, it will be welcomed because the people will be working.
Yes.
We started training on the 26th of September. We were very clear that we were not going to move the people from Windhoek that didn't need to move, unless, of course, you were already employed and you had to go into production. So we moved about 9 people from Windhoek to Witvlei, and the rest, we did 3 groups of interviews. We interviewed about 90, well, more than 90 people, but we ended up with a list of 3 groups of 30 each, so 90 people. And we were going to put them into training in three slots. We started off with the first slot on the 26th of September. And these are young people, young unemployed people that we cry out every day we don't have opportunities. And we got them to train, and we pay them a training allowance until they go into production, and then we offer them full-time employment. The first 2 weeks already, they were asking, when is the factory going to close for Christmas?
Oh,
You've
wow.
been unemployed the whole year, so you've rested the entire year.
Yeah, it was a festive season for you.
The entire year.
Yeah.
So we sort of thought, okay, this is odd. And I was there recently, last week, and we had gone with our human resources manager. And we get that very same question just before we leave. When is the factory closing for Christmas? Can you please give us a date?
Because we need to pack for the north and stuff.
We do. We do. But then Sunday, the end of the month was on Monday, and I paid people on Sunday because I wanted to free up time because I've got quite a hectic week. And Monday we had and people that were absent from the factory, 50% of people that are unemployed.
Okay.
So it's not because the opportunities are not there. We need to look at our work ethic. We had the same experience at Leap Agri. We had our first harvest, we had about 130 people. And after the first payday, we normally dial in our farm manager every Monday at 8:30. And that particular Monday, they had gotten paid on Friday. That particular Monday, we only eventually got hold of him at around 4:30. And the farm, unfortunately, we only have MTC. You need to sort it out, please, for us, because we only have reception at the farm itself, and we've got a little booster there.
Okay.
So he got back to the farm at 4:30, and we asked him, "Why are you
I
only
love
back
how
now?
she just snuck that in there. Tim, you have serious problems now, yeah.
Why are you only dialing in now?" And he said, "No, I was driving from farm to farm collecting the people that had been paid on Friday to come back to work. And we were delivering 3,000 bags of potatoes. And it was a truck that would come every week to pick up these bags of potatoes. If that truck doesn't leave after an hour after they've loaded, you as the farmer end up paying for it because it's now delayed.
Yes.
Right? And we're chasing people that want to be employed. We're now running around from farm to farm going to pick them up. So we ended up 2 weeks into the harvest firing 94 people. And it's not an easy thing to do because you've set up this company to create jobs.
Yes.
So I don't think it's lack of opportunities. I think we need to really re-examine and look at ourselves and say, what is it that we need to do differently to really progress as a country? And one of the things that we need to look at is work ethic. So if you are given an opportunity, then you grab that opportunity. So to your question, it's not a lack of opportunities for our youth.
All right. Now, I'd like to remind our audience, not remind, I'm actually telling you for the first time, we will be having a Q&A session. Ali actually wants to hear what you'd like to ask us. So if you do have a question, just prepare yourself for it. And then when the time comes, I will tell you. Don't ask her weird things. And no Zimbabwe, please. Okay? Just don't ask her about it. We've moved on from that. Now, we had also a couple of people who could not be here tonight, but they managed to come through via social media and ask a couple of questions that they'd like me to direct to you. The first one is from Facebook, and it's by Abed Pandu Usiku, who asks, what is your recipe for success? Who inspired you to be who you are today?
Recipe for success. That's a very difficult question. Lack of sleep.
Lack of sleep. Okay.
So I think for anyone to be successful, you need to put in the time. You really need to put in the time. I was telling my team at the beginning of this week, there was a day when I got to my house at like 4:48 a.m. in the morning. So for you to be successful, you gotta put in the time.
And have a loving husband.
True.
Yeah, because it was 4:48
in
the morning.
True. And then in terms of who inspires me, there's a lot of people. My mom, to start off with, she's the hardest working person I know. And sometimes I say maybe it's a little bit of a curse that we've got some of her genes, but she really is the biggest inspiration. My husband, very, very, very supportive. You would be having a conversation and he just sort of looks at you like, okay, just calm down. So he inspires me a whole lot. He's very, very calm. He's got qualities that I don't have. And I look at him and I'm like, if I could get to that place and be as emotionally mature as you are, I would be a tremendous success, 100 times over. My team inspires me, and they're in the room. And when you have people calling you and saying...
when you said they're in the room, I looked around and I see Lazarus Jacobs and I'm thinking, I swear I could have seen him in the shop the other day. But okay, I realized...
He's part of my A team.
Yes.
So my team inspires me. The amount of time that they put in, the amount of stress that they put up with, they inspire me a great lot. And I'm really not an easy boss to work for. So they inspire me. It's a whole host of people.
Okay.
I think a person cannot be successful unless, of course, you've got other people that you can look up to.
Yeah, I mean, they do say that no man is an island at the end of the day. Our final social media question is from Twitter. And this one was asked by Ria G7. I'm guessing it's a woman. When starting a business venture, is it supply and demand or filling a market gap that one should look at?
That's such a complicated question.
Okay.
I would think it would be filling a market gap.
Okay.
Because supply and demand determine sort of the price that you can get in the end. So if you've got oversupply, then even if you are filling, if you've got oversupply, then your price will get driven down. You will not be able to build a viable business. And if you've got great demand for your product, then it means that you can sort of charge a price that is reflective of the fact that there isn't anybody else in the market that's supplying a similar product. So supply and demand for me would determine pricing. But if you want to start a business venture, make sure that there is actually a gap to fill.
Okay.
Because if there isn't a gap to fill, nobody's going to buy your product. Yeah.
All right, so it is time for us now to give our audience members the opportunity to ask their questions. So if you do have a question, kindly do raise your hand. We'll take about 3 or 4 questions, because I mean, Ali talks. I thought I was a talker. She talks. So depending on how long she takes to answer your question and how many numbers she uses in the answer, we will then, of course, decide how many questions we're taking. So by an indication of raising your hand, so we can just get the questions asked. Are you afraid of her? This is